after that one.
Man, it's crazy. But look, Chance, hey, but before we get into everything that happened today, we've got to talk about what happened earlier this week at crypto.com arena when LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the NBA's all-time leading scorer in NBA history. What was some of your takeaways from that big night?
Honestly, man, it's just one of those records that you thought was never going to be broken. And I mean, 38,000 points when you really like sit down, because I've been doing a lot of like crunching numbers lately as far as like who in the NBA now could like have a chance at this. And man, it is really hard. Even if you look at some, guys that came in the league really young, like Luca, Jason Tatum, like the fact that he's been able to stay healthy for this long and have such a long career, like you basically have to score close to 30 points a game for nearly 20 seasons. And the fact that he was able to do that
Mm-hmm.
every single year, be so reliable, and was just in crazy. Like I just love those moments when you're watching like history happen and you're like kind of watching it with Twitter and everybody's just collectively watching it together. Luckily, we had no more Twitter crashes. Shout out to Elon for keeping it going for at least 24 hours during all of this. But it was just amazing to watch it all together. Of course, he hits it with such an iconic shot. I'm sure you've seen the photo. I think I sent it to you where
Oh
you've got
man.
all everybody in the background taking their pictures. Don't blame him for that. I would be too if I paid $15 million to get on those seats. But yeah, man, it's just absolutely incredible what he's done. Whether you love or hate LeBron, in general, I think anybody has to respect the accomplishments that he's had. And I mean, it's only going to go up. He seems like he's ready to play a few more years. So he's going to crack 40,000 and just make this record like almost
Mm-hmm.
impossible to break in the future.
Well, and he said that too. He's like, man, he's like, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And the cool thing that I took away from like that night, it really felt like a night like all basketball fans just finally just came together, and it wasn't any like you did hear a little bit of like, oh, he's still not the GOAT talk or whatever, but for the most part everybody just enjoyed it and just took it in and was just like, man,
Right.
like we might not see this again for another 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 years. We might not ever see this again in our lifetime. And so
Yeah.
I think that was the coolest thing, was just seeing that whole situation. And two, like, and then going back and looking at LeBron's, how he came into the league, at came in as the chosen one, and dude, he has lived up to that to like
Yeah.
every degree. Like, how often do you hear about players with all this hype that comes into the league, and then they actually live up to it, and you
Right.
can't
And
deny that LeBron has been the best player of this generation. You can't deny it.
oh yeah, I think everybody would agree. And I mean, it's like I said, like there's, LeBron is so polarizing. Anybody that, is at the level that he is going to be polarizing. People are going to love him. They're going to hate him. I'm one of those few that's kind of in between. Like I respect his
Mm-hmm.
greatness. I wouldn't call myself like a huge LeBron fan. I think he has like his annoyances, but like they're just like minor things that aren't make or break. Like it's like, oh, I
Right.
think he's just kind of corny with some things, like the first page of books, just like a lot of small things, like lying about
Yeah.
stuff. Like if that's the worst he's ever done after being in the
Yeah.
spotlight since he was 16 years old, I think he's done pretty good. How many people get in the spotlight at that age and they're able to have zero major controversies, zero like issues, PR related?
Mm-hmm.
He has been, a great role model for, young people everywhere. And, regardless of what you feel about him, if he annoys you, you think he's too cocky, you don't think he's the GOAT, you compare him to MJ, like all that's fine. But regardless of all that, you have to respect the legacy that he's built, and to be able to play at this level for going on 20 years now, like no one can deny that. And I've kind of gone back and forth as far as like the whole GOAT debate. Like I'm almost to a point where I think that the game is so different now. You almost just have to do GOATs like by eras, kind of like what you said. And
Yeah.
like he's no question the best player of this generation. Like from the time that he entered the league until now, he's been the
Mm-hmm.
best player in the league. And I think regardless of, compare him to Kareem or, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, like regardless of who your overall GOAT is, he's been the unquestioned best player of this generation in every single way. And yeah, seeing him hit that shot and celebrate, like it was just a great moment for NBA fans all around to just celebrate and watch that happen live. It's something that we'll most likely like never see again, especially in our lifetime, unless they just completely change the rules and people are scoring 50 points a game in the future, which you never know the way things are going now. Like it might get to a
Mm-hmm.
point, but in our lifetime, I'd be shocked if that record is broken. And we witnessed
Yeah.
history this week.
I'd be shocked too, man, because like the longevity piece in it in itself is just so impressive. Like because you're only going to hit that record if you're playing 20 years.
Mhm.
And you're not pulling a Kawhi Leonard and taking a whole bunch of rest days. Like
Right.
you got
So
to play.
that's part of it too. So I was that night it happened. I was kind of doing the math, crunching some numbers, just because you know me, I'm a numbers guy. So if you had to pick, because I think we'll have the same person. If you had to pick one person in the NBA that could realistically have a chance at tying the record, who would you pick?
Realistically, I probably pick Luca just because he
Okay.
came in the league young, and
Okay, that's who I picked too. So
yeah.
I did the numbers on Luca. So Luca right now has 8,500 career points, which is quite a lot because he's on what his fifth season, right, in the
Hmm.
league. So he has 8,000. LeBron just broke the record with 38,000. So Luca needs 30,000 more points. So he would have to basically average 28 points per game and play 70 games per season, which is actually kind of a stretch in these day and age. Like most
Yep.
stars play like 55 to 60. He'd have to average 28 points a game, and that's basically 2,000 points a season. So he would have to do that for another 15 years. So at age
Yeah.
38, he'd have to still be averaging 28 points per game and still be playing 70 games a season
That's
just to have a
that's
chance.
That's crazy. And then like and someone like Luca ain't playing that long. like,
Right. Yeah.
like he wants to go back to Slovenia and drive his expensive cars. Like
Yeah, like you
and I
said, the longevity of it, like it's so
mhm,
unlikely because Luca has just started so young and has just been scoring at such a high pace. You would think that it'd be like, oh yeah, if Luca just keeps doing what he's doing, 10 or 12 years, like he could do it. No, he has to like basically play at the exact same level in his mid 30s and never miss a full season to injury. Basically, play at least 70 games a season. If he misses a full season, then all of a sudden that's even harder of a stretch. So it's so
mhm.
unlikely, man. I really don't think we're going to see it happen. It's an incredible feat that we witnessed this week.
But I do think with the way scoring has gone up, I, I expect us to see a lot of change in the numbers between 10 to like 5. Like I could definitely
Hmm.
see a lot of these young cats getting there just because you start thinking about how guys are just scoring 30 every night
Oh yeah,
now
for sure.
with scoring averages. I remember it was a big deal when like T Mac and Kobe those years where they were the scoring champs at 30 points. But now we've got to win the scoring champ crown, you got to be what over 33 points probably to end the season now. So
Yeah, it's like mid 30s right now to be the leader. It's crazy.
yeah, so that's interesting. But shout out to LeBron. There was well, hold on, we're not going to pass the drama of. Did you see the Anthony Davis stuff?
Man, that was really strange. I did read one like speculation on Twitter that he was sick, under the weather, which
Mm,
I think there's two, ways you can go about that. One, he really was sick and that's why, but two, like they went back and were like, "Oh man, like this does not look good. Let's just tell people he was sick." Because well, the first
yeah.
thing that came up to me is when you were watching it live, they had LeBron mic'd up, and there's that
Hmm.
moment, and I don't really see this talked about as much, but he's next to Anthony Davis on the bench. This is before he breaks the record, and he's like, "You're my brother, man." Or I think it was right after. It was right after he broke it, and he just looks over and he's like, "You're my brother, man. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say." And he's kind of smiling, and Davis is just like kind of looking at him and like doesn't smile or anything. And while I was watching it live, I was like, that was kind of a weird exchange. Like he didn't really say anything. I was like, maybe that's just how he is. And then you check Twitter later on and you see that like he's sitting down, showing no emotion when he hits the shot. It was really strange. Like I got some weird vibes from that. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he was just sick, or maybe he, who knows? What's your thought?
I got a conspiracy theory.
Oh,
Are you
I'm
ready for it?
always open to those.
So put your tinfoil hat on, Chance. I'm gonna take you for a ride.
All
Okay.
right, let's see what we got.
So there were reports that came out of that game that Darvin Ham and Russell Westbrook got into it at halftime.
Right.
I think Anthony Davis was involved in that whole situation. I think that Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook, they probably got into it over whatever it was. And then Russ, knowing that he was going to be headed out the door soon, I think that was one of those things where people really started to just speak their mind. You know, you know exactly how you would start speaking your mind if you knew it was your last day of work and you don't have to see them coworkers no more. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
that, and I think that's what happened. And then LeBron, you know, being the GM that he is, he knows that Russ is getting traded. He knows all the details. And he's like, we getting off of him regardless. And he's like, I can't believe this is going on today on my night. You know what I mean? But he on cloud nine. He living it up. He can't wait to go drink some Lobos tequila,
yep,
and he's like, I can't believe this happened. To him, he's just probably like, man, AD, I love you, bro. Like, you my guy. We gonna get
right,
this
right.
clown. We gonna get this clown up out of here. And then
Yeah,
you hear,
just wait a couple days. I got something up my sleeve for you.
yeah, and then you hear the crazy stuff about that came out. I don't understand. I hate that this story got out there. With McMenamin had reported that uh, that from the Lakers uh, organization, someone has said that like we removed the cancer out the locker room, or we got rid of that vampire in the locker room, or whatever. And it was just it was a terrible quote for to get out there. And I'm just like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, like like they are really throwing Russ's name out there on the way out the door, man. But it is what it is. The Lakers have moved on. We'll get into talking about the Lakers even some more. But before we talk about the Lakers, I want to talk to all of our listeners out there. Guys, we appreciate the feedback that you have been giving us. It's been great. We love hearing you guys' opinion and sending us stuff. Keep sending us stuff to include and talk about on the pod. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to be the most transparent and conversational and educational hoops podcast out there for you guys. We just want to make sure that we're having those conversations that you guys want to hear about, but then we're also doing all the legwork and watching 3, 4, 5 games a night on some nights, just so you don't have to. So keep giving us that feedback because it's greatly appreciated. But what we also need you guys to do so we can grow our pod, we need you guys to like and leave us comments on each video. Even if it's the clip, if it's the full video, please interact with our YouTube page because it'll help with growth. Now, Chance, on to the trade deadline.